stepmother refused to plan my wedding because of my mother.
Mother's conundrum.
My 24 female, mom, 45 female, and stepmother, 44 female, are very, very different people. My mom is one of those people who wears her emotions on her sleeves. She cries and laughs a lot. If she is angry, you know it. She's very expressive. She also had a really hard life. She had me when she was young, and my biological dad abandoned her. By the way, this comes from Throwaway Mom SM, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
I'm Dakota.
And I'm Keon.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We're just going to guess what we would do in this situation, but let us know what you would do in the comments below. She met my dad, and they were together for 10 years, and she had my sister with him. Because she had babies so young, she had to raise us and didn't get a chance to go to college. She met my stepdad right after she left my dad, and they have been together ever since. Because she isn't educated, she's never been able to get a good job and works funny hours at a thrift store. So she has a funny schedule and never really has money. She'd give me money for the wedding, but she doesn't hardly have enough for her own bills. My stepdad is her soulmate, but he needs a lot of attention, and it has always been a conflict for her. She would cry a lot because she wanted to spend more time with us as kids, but couldn't because stepdad only had certain times off, and she needed to make sure that he had the attention he needed too. I mean, she didn't even have time to cook us dinner at night. She'd take us out to eat instead, so there was no way that she would have the extra time to do some of the stuff that my stepmother did. I know she tried really hard at being a mom and did her best, but life was just harder for her than it was for my stepmother. My stepmother came into my life when I was 10, and we have always gotten along well. She is basically the opposite of my mom. I don't think I've ever seen her cry more than 1 or 2 tears. She has never raised her voice and yelled at us. Growing up, she was always the one that we went to when we needed things done. She is the one who would sign us up for all the things that we wanted to do, help with our homework, throw our birthday parties, and call the doctors. She went to college before my stepbrother was born, so she got a good job as a project manager and always had money. My dad started his own business too, and he married my stepmother, so they had way more money than my mom. They also owned their own house and didn't have to pay rent like my mom did. But the courts didn't give my mom any child support at all to help. My stepmother did more of the traditional mom stuff like cooking dinner and making Halloween costumes, but she was always a little cold. She rarely said I love you. My real mom was the emotional support, but life was hard for her, so she couldn't do the traditional mom stuff the same as my stepmother, even though she wanted to. I love both my mom and stepmother and am happy that they are both in my life. They both helped me to grow up in their own ways. My significant other and I are getting married in less than 7 months, and I'm planning my wedding. A couple of times I sent my stepmother some things asking for help, and each time she shrugged it off saying, "You should ask your mom." The last time I texted her to ask what she thought the best flower shop in the town we were going to get married is, and if she thinks that lilies would be good in the bridal bouquet. But she never responded, which is really unlike her, so I stopped by her house on the way home from work and asked her again. This time, she told me that I should plan my wedding with my mom. I pressed her on why she wouldn't help, and she said that she had promised herself a long time ago that once us kids were out of the house, she would never have to deal with my mom again. She said she will be happy to financially contribute to my wedding, but would rather not get in any situation where she has to deal with my mother. I never knew she didn't like my mom. She never said anything growing up. If anything, she always was supportive of my relationship with my mom. When I had problems with her as a teen, she would always tell me that your mother loves you, or would say, "I don't know your mom. I can't tell you why she does what she does, but I know she loves you." I asked her why she doesn't like my mom, but she wouldn't answer. She said that her relationship with my mother should in no way affect my relationship with my mom, and there is no need to spread past drama. But she has set a boundary and hopes that I can respect that. I was so confused. I asked my mom about it to see if she could tell me why my stepmother might have said that. My mom got so upset and started crying and getting angry. But she was saying that my stepmother is trying to ruin my wedding because she has always tried to control our lives just because she wanted power. She said there was a reason that stepmother had thrown our birthday parties even though she wanted to. I asked my mom to tell me what she was talking about, but she said it wasn't my concern. She then tried looking up my stepmother on Facebook to write her a letter, but stepmother had blocked her. Stepmother had blocked her everywhere.
Oh my God. Like, why though? Like, what did she do? She's just an emotional person?
I don't know.
And that's why?
It's been 4 days and my mom is still so mad. I'm a little concerned that my mom is going to use my wedding to talk to my stepmother about it, and I really don't want the drama. I asked my stepmother to contact my mom to help calm her down, but stepmother just started laughing. I'm so frustrated. I don't want this sort of drama. I don't know why now, after 14 years, my stepmother has started acting this way. I don't understand why she just won't talk to my mom or open up the channels. My mom is just an emotional person. She really does try her best as a mom, though. I really could use some help with planning my wedding. My mom would help, but like I said, she doesn't really have time. My stepmother is way better at planning things and keeping organized. It's not like my stepmother would have to talk to my mom to help me plan it. It makes me feel like she doesn't actually care about me, that she just would cut me off. I really want to know what happened between my stepmother and mom. I know they say it isn't my business, but it sure feels like it is my business, and their actions are affecting me. How do I keep this from blowing up at my wedding? I almost feel like telling my stepmother that she shouldn't come if she won't help me calm down my mom first. I don't want my wedding day ruined by my mom being so hurt, but I also really need the financial support that my stepmother and dad are giving me, and I don't want to jeopardize that. So what should I do? And there are some comments. So Shiny So New says, your perspective here is really skewed. Your stepmom doesn't want to deal with your highly emotional and volatile mother, so you asked her to deal with your highly emotional and volatile mother on your behalf. OP says, yeah. When you put it that way, it doesn't sound very smart at all.
Yeah, but it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. The only person who can make amends in the situation or like come to some sort of compromise in the situation is the stepmom and the mom.
Population Tire quotes OP, my mom got so upset and started crying and getting angry. She was saying that my stepmother is trying to ruin my wedding because she has always tried to control our lives just because she wanted power. If that's a typical response from your mom, it tells you everything you need to know. From what you wrote, your stepmom never tried to badmouth your mom or get in the way of your relationship, which shows maturity. Your mother is demonstrating immaturity with that statement. There probably isn't one incident, just a general behavior from your mom that your stepmom understandably doesn't want to deal with. OP responds, it's a pretty extreme response even from my mom. My stepmother used to say, some people are just more emotional than others, so I never thought it bothered her before. I thought she just understood that my mom was that way. Wondering Dev says she was protecting you. Now she's being honest. And there is an update from 9 months later. I had posted originally when I was very frustrated about my stepmother, saying that she wouldn't help with me with my wedding because of my mother. I was rightfully ripped into by quite a few people. I just reread what I had written, and there's so much cringe. I did what many suggested and told my stepmother that I respected her boundaries and thanked her for always having supported me in my life. She seemed really touched. We had a good conversation, and she admitted that she would like to help, but as one commenter had guessed, she was sure that if my mom heard that she had helped with something, my mom would become critical of it, and it would put me in an awkward spot. I told my mother that she needed to calm down. Even if stepmother didn't like her, they were adults, and this was my day, and I could really use some help making it special. Much to my surprise, she said that she would love to help and had been waiting to plan a wedding her whole life. A little backstory, my mom and dad had married in a courthouse with no ceremony. My mom and stepdad aren't actually married. He's just been around for so long, we just call him stepdad. Well, guys, turns out my mom is crazy. It started with her canceling the venue that we had reserved. We wanted an outdoor wedding in a beautiful park near us, and trying to book a destination wedding in Hawaii. What the F? Luckily, the refunded deposit didn't at all cover her desired location deposit, so she came and asked me to cover the rest. That was a huge blow up, but we got it sorted out. She had claimed that she wanted to surprise me with a dream wedding, and that I deserved the best. I told her that an outdoor wedding with all of my friends that fit in my budget was my dream wedding. I still believed at this point that she had been doing it to be kind, but boy am I a sucker. Things slinked into the twilight zone after that. She kept saying it was our wedding, as in mine and her wedding. I wanted a cupcake bar, and she tried to change the order to a cake. She picked up the wrong supplies for our centerpieces. Sure. The wrong supplies.
Right, that was an accident.
Yeah. She would argue with all the vendors. Every time she did something, we had a massive fight ending with her crying and hysterical, saying that I shouldn't be getting a wedding before she got her wedding. That my dad owed her a wedding.
Okay.
Oh,
now
wow.
it's time to go, Mom. I love you. but you can't. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
We are halting indefinitely
Yeah.
your planning responsibilities.
She'd apologize profusely the next day and say that she knew she was acting crazy, but that the wedding planning was just bringing up a lot of unresolved issues for her. She said she was going to counseling and getting her depression medication adjusted. I would feel bad and forgive her, and then the whole cycle would start again. After months of this, I thought we had finally reached an understanding that she could have a wedding, but she couldn't have my wedding. But I was wrong. She bought a white sequin floor-length dress with a pillbox hat with a veil to wear to the ceremony. When she sent me the picture, I honestly just went numb. I know I had told her that I would respect her wishes, but I didn't know who else to talk to, so I brought the picture over to my dad and stepmother's house. I showed it to my stepmother and then started bawling my eyes out. At first, I thought my stepmother was crying with me, but she wasn't. She was laughing so hard she could barely breathe. She called my dad in, and he started laughing so hard that he couldn't stand up straight anymore. Long story short, both my stepmother and dad ended up helping me manage my mom during the wedding. They taught me how to put her on an information diet and require passwords at vendors. My dad ripped into her about it being her wedding. My stepmother had the great idea of telling my mom that the white would match stepmother's dress and be good because it's popular for brides now to wear a dress in the wedding colors. My colors were teal and gold. So my mom showed up in a teal dress, as did my stepmother, lol. My dad and stepmother ran interference for me with my mom all day on my wedding day. They said that they were old pros at it, and it was their wedding present to me. It turned out to be a beautiful day, and I didn't hear about any of the drama until after the day. All in all, it was an eye-opening experience. I always knew my mom was emotional. I just hadn't realized how much she also manipulates things. I became a lot closer to my dad and stepmother, and am actually pretty low contact with my mother now. Oh wow. It has made me really reevaluate my childhood, and I feel like I've grown a lot. Thank you, Reddit, for being the first to start opening my eyes. And by the way, you can open your eyes to the fact that we've got full episodes with more stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime. We've got some final comments here. Mega Mose says, quoting OP, my stepmother had the great idea of telling my mom that the white would match stepmother's dress and be good because it's popular for brides to now wear a dress in the wedding colors. Holy cow, that's genius. Apparently, this is not your stepmother's first rodeo. OP says, I really didn't think it would work. The funniest thing was them both ending up in almost identical dresses. I guess my mom had a minor meltdown over it, but I didn't see it. Denver Socialist says, come on, you can't drop that kind of bait without giving us more details. OP says, I guess she had found stepdad after seeing stepmother and demanded that he take her shopping right now. But stepdad was like, the ceremony's going to start. We aren't leaving now. She stormed off and found a friend who she tried to trade dresses with. But the friend thought she was being silly and said it was really cute how both of OP's moms are wearing matching outfits. My stepmother found out that she was crying in the bathroom, so she went in there with one of my bridesmaids and said loudly enough for my mom to hear, I wish I had worn a different dress. It's so similar to OP's mom, and everyone keeps telling me how much better she looks in it than I do.
Ooh, skill issue.
She really does wear it better. I guess that was enough to calm my mom down because she came out of the bathroom and was smiling and showing off her dress after that. Oh, so that was the stepmom saying that about the mom.
Oh, I was confused as well.
Yeah.
That's not a skill issue. That's actually extremely skilled.
That's very genius, yeah.
Well, and again, you know what? This is the perfect, like, silly baby type scenario. It's like she's being a silly baby. But then if you just tell the silly baby, oh, I'm so sad. Everyone keeps saying you look so much better than me in your dress.
Right. Bob Barker says, as kids, we look up to our parents a whole lot, but part of becoming an adult is learning that they're human too. It's usually a harsh lesson. Opie says, I believed everything my mom told me growing up. Why would she lie to me? And my dad and stepmother kept quiet about drama, so I only ever heard one side of the story. I feel badly that it took me so long to see it through. I started going to counseling, which has helped tremendously to start unraveling all of the lies. It's been painful, but so liberating too. All of these things that didn't ever sit right with me, I now can see it is because I knew something was off, but I didn't know what. TDC Web says your stepmother keeps things quiet because she didn't want you to think that she was intentionally alienating you from your mother. You had to come to the realization yourself, otherwise you would have resented your stepmother and it would have been easier for your mom to just manipulate you against her. Must have been incredibly tough for both your stepmother and dad. Opie says, my dad and stepmother said that they had hopes that maybe she would be more sane to us kids than she was to them. They haven't told me a lot because they say that their relationship with her shouldn't change my relationship with her. But they did clear up some things. My mom always said that dad stole everything from her in the divorce, but he had come into the marriage with the house, cars, and investments. They had signed a prenup with an infidelity clause, and my mom had cheated on my dad, leaving him for my stepdad. My dad had still paid her out quite a bit of money to help get her on her feet, but she didn't get a job and blew it on a huge vacation and a new car that she crashed while driving wasted. Fines ate up the last of the money. I remember her telling me that her car broke down and dad had towed it away, saying that he was going to fix it but never did. I remember being mad that my dad wouldn't help my mom out when he was really good with cars. I don't know all of the stories, but I question a lot of the I was mad at dad memories. It's so weird to look back on your life and not even know what you don't know. I am questioning everything. I wish dad and stepmother would tell me more, but I understand that they want me to come to my own relationship with my mom too. She is crazy, but she wasn't completely terrible all the time. The hardest thing has been with my little sister, who has always been one of my best friends. Even though she has seen what my mom did with my wedding, she has also had my mom crying to her the whole time. There were many times where my sister would call me and tell me that I was being unreasonable with mom. It has put a bit of a wedge between us, and I'm not sure how to handle it. Whoa, and that's the end of that story.
Dang.
Dude, I freaking called it, though, dude. I freaking knew that she'd be reflecting on these things and find ways her childhood was not what she thought it was.
Yep.
It was living a lie.
It's hard to see.
That sucks,
you're in it.
though.
My mother-in-law destroyed my garden while I was on vacation.
Speaking of the Garden of Eden.
My husband, 35 male, and I, 29 female, went on holiday for a week and just got back tonight. My in-laws stayed at our house and looked after our dogs for us while we were away. By the way, this comes from user Tragic Mushroom from the TwoHotTakes subreddit. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Angie.
And I didn't see you there. Hi, I'm Keon.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do in the situation. So if you would do something different, let us know in the comments. We got back tonight to find that mother-in-law has completely changed our garden without our consent while we've been gone. We have a small-ish paved garden with some raised flower beds, a couple of trees, and some nice flowers and bushes. Most were left by previous owners, and we've cared for them the best we can. Weeded, laid wood chips, and kept the garden tidy. While we've been away, an entire tree on the right-hand side has been removed and is now just a stump. New shrubs and flowers have been planted in its place. My roses, which I enjoyed caring for, have been cut to a stump with nothing left. The trellis completely bare. The two other trees have been cut back dramatically. All their flowers and buds are gone. The huge flowers on one bush have been cut off, and the garden feels very exposed and barren. The tree that was cut to a stump flowered beautifully in summer and attracted lots of butterflies. I'm big on biodiversity, so that was so sad. The roses I'm devastated about, as my uncle was helping me care for them. Various other jobs have been done, like cutting a small patch of grass we have at the back and jet washing the paving slabs, which I'm grateful for. It's important to note nothing like this was discussed before we left. We only asked mother-in-law and father-in-law to care for our dog, nothing more. Mother-in-law mentioned patching some missing sealant in the windows of our shed for us, and that was all she mentioned. I really struggle with anxiety and needing to be in control, and I've been sobbing this evening. I'm devastated. Mother-in-law is asleep and father-in-law is staying out of it. I'm sleeping downstairs with our dog because I can't stand to be away from her either. 3 a.m., but I can't sleep. What do I do? Am I right to be upset? I'm certain their intentions were good, but I feel like this is an enormous overstep and I'm really upset. And there are some comments. Wow. So I went to your comments on your post because I wanted to see if I could get a little more background here. What I did not find is what your husband plans to do about this. I understand you having anxiety. It sounds like you're medicated and doing pretty darn well overall with your medication combination, and that's wonderful. This has just thrown you for a loop and is a bit of a setback, which is completely understandable. What you need to understand, though, is that your in-laws are not yours to manage. Your husband needs to be managing his parents. I don't care if your mother-in-law likes to stay busy and gets carried away. I'm 65. Do you know what I would never do in a million years? Go to my daughter's place in Phoenix and mess with her beautifully set up back patio. She has plants all around. She babies them. She waters them. She has lovely furniture and a pergola out there. It's a beautiful area to just sit and breathe. But you know what's most important about this? It's hers, not mine. She is 33 years old and her partner is 34. I don't pay the bills there and I don't live there, so I would never do any of that. There is no excuse. Let me repeat myself as a 65-year-old white lady named Karen. There is zero excuse for what your in-laws did. You and your husband need to be on the same page, I agree, and he needs to lay down the law to his parents, and they need to pay to restore everything. You didn't want the flowers there. You do want the climbing roses because that's what it sounds like you had. And they need to pay for the plants and the materials and the new tree, and it needs to be made clear to them. They are never to touch anything in your home again without asking you. It doesn't matter if they think something's rotten. It doesn't matter if they don't like the look of it. It doesn't matter if they think the paving stones need washing. Not a zilch zero. Changing anything at your home without express permission from both of you. Not just your husband, both of you. I want to assure you this is a reasonable boundary. I want to assure you it does not make you a witch or a terrible daughter-in-law. It makes you an adult standing up for what is right and what is their own. As somebody darn close to your mother-in-law's age, I'm appalled. This is stepping over so many boundaries, and your husband literally needs to look at his mom and say this. Would you go watch a friend's dog and cut down trees and landscaping and change up their entire garden without asking them? No, you wouldn't, would you? Dad, you wouldn't cut down their trees, would you? You know why you wouldn't do that? Because not only would you lose a friend, you would probably get sued and made to restore it all using a landscaper. And you wouldn't do it because it's not your house. You don't own it. And they didn't ask you to do it or agree to have you do it. Well, because we're family, do we deserve less respect? Do we deserve to have you treat us less well than you would a friend? Of course we don't. You should actually be doing better for us. Families should treat each other better than they want an acquaintance or coworker or friend to treat them. So yes, you will need to buy us a new tree. You will need to buy us new roses, and you will need to agree to never touch anything in our home again without asking, or you won't be allowed at our home. I don't care if her intentions were malicious. I don't care if she just got carried away. I do not care. No matter what the reason, what they did was wrong. It was an intrusion. It was a betrayal of trust, and it was wrong. I don't care what excuse they try to give you. Your husband needs to tell them, Mom and Dad, I do not care. I would never come to your house and change everything around because it's not my home. You don't get to come into my home and do this any more than you would to any other adult, no matter how much you want to. Set the boundary now. It is okay to do so. I know it is anxiety-inducing, but you need to do it now. You need to fully internalize that what they did was wrong. And it's okay to acknowledge it, and it's okay for you to stand up for yourselves. And there is an update.
Yeah, the tree is crazy because they had to hire someone to do that. Depending on what tree it is, they probably had to hire someone to come in so that the tree didn't just fall down on everything else.
I don't know. Maybe OP's mom is an expert with the chainsaw.
She's just
out there
doing it herself.
Say, yep, no, I'll take care of this all by myself, actually.
Yeah, I got
This is a one-man job. To answer some questions, I think the tree was a bedelia. I think it's usually a bush, but it was quite mature and had a trunk about 8 inches wide and was around 2 to 3 meters tall. It very much looked like a tree. Sorry if I gave the impression it was like a huge tree that required a tree surgeon.
That's what I was
imagining. But it wasn't a tiny bush. It was still a task to chop it down, and they didn't hire anyone. They did it themselves. Thank you for all the suggestions about tree law. I've learned something new. Thank you to all that said the roses might be salvageable. They are literally a stump only 3 inches tall, but I'll try the blood and bone mixture to promote growth and try to bring them back. Mother-in-law has done things like this before, but never to this extreme. She gets bored, and one thing leads to another, and you can tell part of her knows she's gone too far. But she tries to justify it anyway. It's well known in the family that mother-in-law can't sit still and finds jobs to do to be helpful, but to my knowledge, she hasn't done anything this big before. Now, the update. In the morning, my husband spoke to mother-in-law alone and laid out how this was really inappropriate for her to make changes to our garden without permission or even notification. He said she offered some explanations as to why she did it, but did acknowledge it wasn't right to go ahead and cut down trees without asking. He posed the question many of you suggested: how would she feel if we looked after her home and repainted a room or chopped a tree down in her garden or removed her fence? I think that made her realize she was in the wrong. He asked her to speak to me directly and apologize, as I said to him I needed an apology and for her to acknowledge that what she did was wrong. Later, mother-in-law spoke to me privately and said she was sorry I was so upset by the garden, and I said thank you. Her explanation for the tree is that she was doing some pruning, which, again, I did not ask her to, but anyway, and when she trimmed the branches, they were black inside. They went to a garden center and got advice and were told it was this kind of bug infestation. Mother-in-law is adamant she was being bitten by whatever bug it is as well. I don't know. The tree was green and healthy looking to me. Anyway, at no point did they speak to us despite going through all this trouble. They then decided to just chop it down since it was infested, so to speak. She did at least say the words, "I know we should have called you or asked," and then I said, "And the roses? I loved those. And my uncle was helping me keep them going." And she said the dog had been chewing on them. Bear in mind, these are in a raised bed she'd have to jump up to get to, and apparently she yelped and hurt herself on the thorns. So, obviously, the logical conclusion isn't to keep an eye on the puppy, who's a 4-month-old lab, but to chop down the flowering roses. That was the end of that discussion, but later in the day, she and father-in-law went to a garden center to try to replace both the butterfly bush and the roses, but couldn't find the right kind. They've said that if we find the plants we want, they will buy them for us so we can replace them, and things are civil again. I'm still hurt, and I hate how my garden looks, especially since other trees and flowering bushes were cut so far back all the color is gone. It feels very exposed and like a new build or showroom garden before any character is added, but I can't make the plants regrow, and replanting the tree would mean removing the stump they left, so couldn't be asked. Personally, I will never allow mother-in-law and father-in-law to be alone in my house again, and they will not be asked to look after our dog unless it's in their own home. By the way, you can listen to full episodes of stories like this in your own home by going to your favorite podcast platform, iHeartRadio, or Spotify, or Apple Podcast. Just search OK Storytime, and you've got the entire archive to blast right into your ears.
I feel like when you're a gardener, that your plants are your babies. And
Yes.
when you are like watching over your plants like that, raising them from seed, and you just love them. And so once you've finally got to that point where they're blooming and they're attracting butterflies or the roses or whatever, like everything's great, and then they're just chopped down randomly.
Chopped.
That's gotta hurt. So I think it totally makes sense. Like, yeah, even if they do nice things here and there, it's not worth the risk.
I do have a generally good relationship with both of my in-laws, and they are generous and kind people, but this lack of respecting boundaries has been an ongoing issue, especially since we got our house, which they did a huge amount of work on with us, and for which I'm extremely grateful. I do, however, feel like this contributes to how they view the house and garden as a project and not as our home, despite the fact we've lived in the finished house for 2 years now. That might be why they thought it was no big deal to go around messing with our garden. My husband has been on my side throughout this and took us all, me, him, and the dog, out for a Sunday roast today to cheer us up. He's upset with his parents as well and has done his best to make me feel better and validate my feelings. He's the best, and that is the end of that story. What a cool guy.
What a great guy.
What a nice guy.